it should have. Yeah, let me see.
Could you post the link in the
Yeah,
hub notification as well?
I did.
Oh, I might be on the wrong notification then.
Yeah, it should be on today's meeting as a comment right down there. Yep. So yeah, it's in there. Okay, so
Yep, found it.
maybe I grabbed the wrong screenshot here. Yeah, so here's, I'm sorry, maybe I didn't paste in the latest, but here's the latest, 199 chapters, nothing else really noteworthy, so I'm not going to spend any significant time on this. We'll move on. Okay, so our discussion topics start with an update from the meeting we had yesterday with the Goldman Sachs team. And things are going well. We're just working our way through phase 2, helping them to prepare the presentation materials that they need for phase 2. And so we've got a lot of questions that we're answering just about e-NABLE and how and why we're innovative and how we would make an impact and that sort of thing. All the stuff you'd expect for this kind of a funding competition. And we are meeting later on again, just to kind of finish our write-up and stuff for them. So that's going fine. The note that we shared last time is being in phase 2, we are now among 300 instead of 900. So that was a big step forward. And of the 300, 100 will move to the next phase. There are a lot of awards other than the first place. So I think there's a very good chance that we will end up getting something from this, because the more we talk about it, the big differentiator that we're seeing that we can offer is, there's going to be a lot of people talking about big stuff like world, hunger and water shortages and all this and that. But how much impact can you really have with $250,000 on those problems? Given our existing infrastructure and the way we do things with our volunteers actually helping to cover some of the costs of making devices and all that stuff, we can do a lot with that amount of money. So I think that's really our key sort of selling point, if you will, that we'll be bringing out through this. So there's lots of details.
I was going to say, my memory is that there's 25 prizes between 250,000 and 2,500.
Yeah, it's all down here. I mean, if we want to dig in here under
yeah,
John had that under his notes, 25 awards. Yeah, so first place gets 250, and then it goes all the way down to places number 13 through 25 getting $2,500.
Right, and for what it's worth, $2,500 does cover like 2 interns for the fall. So
yeah,
whatever we get, we'll be able to use.
I personally, I think it's very likely that we'll end up at least at the 25K level. Well, we'll see. That's just my gut feeling.
I'm predicting we're number 1 or 2.
Yeah, I like to hear it. Let's keep it.
But you know what? I've been wrong before. I think it was about 30 years ago I was wrong.
Yeah, it happens every now and then.
Can't remember.
So anyway, that's going well, and we'll keep you posted. But yeah, it's promising. So animal prosthetics, I'm really excited about this one because it's been something we've talked about forever. We've just never really done anything with it, and I'm really glad that we're finally getting this going. Bob, and I'm sorry I never got to add the notes I was going to. I'm glad you went ahead with it, Bob. But he put this up in the hub. We created a new space. I put the link here. Bob put a post up in the forum, and it got a great response. We've got 16 comments on it already. I mean, people are, as I kind of figured they would be. People just love helping out their furry friends. So I think this could be a great way to keep our volunteers engaged when we don't have enough people cases for them.
Yeah, I started to populate the space with some design.
I saw that.
I saw that too, yeah.
Yep.
So what I'm hoping, and this is what I was going to put into the proposal, and I didn't get a chance to. Alexander, I didn't have a chance to go in and look today. What is the status of your proposal? Should we pull it up right now?
I believe I just checked it. It should be 17 up votes and 2 down votes. I don't know the threshold for getting accepted.
So we need 18. Is it 15 or 18?
18, I think.
18 yes votes. We need 1 more yes vote with 80% positive, which I know we have. Yeah, I'll go double check that, but I think it's 18. Where's the actual vote? There we go.
Yeah, and you might want to at some
is there
point
anyone on
before
this
the end
call
of it.
right? Is there anyone on the call right now that has not voted? No. Okay, I thought maybe we could make it easy. Sorry, Ben, what was it?
I was going to say it might be worth at the end to look at all the feedback that you got from people and have
already did. Check with every single feedback comment.
Great.
I suspect you'll get
another
one
post in the
more
forum,
in a couple days.
another post in the forum to remind people would not hurt, Alexander. Call some attention to it. All you need
Right.
is one more vote. You will get it. This will get approved.
And when is it due? When is it?
Closing the 29th.
2 days.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
only kept
There's
it
no
open for a
rule,
full
there's
week.
no rule saying that we can't extend the voting period if we want to. Okay, so if we wanted to open this for, if we feel like people haven't had enough time, because
I mean,
clearly
only
it's-
19
there's no
people
oppos-
actually saw it. So
right. I
No.
mean, there's no opposition. So I
You're
don't.
actually, I think you're already in the clear. It's 18 votes. You're already at 19 votes. and
Okay,
you
well,
have to
let's
get
go. Let's go
80%.
look at the language then, because I don't remember if
Yeah.
it's 18 total votes or if it's 18 yes votes. So that's
I think
in
it's
our-
18 total votes.
All right, let's see. Wiki, enable mini grant
Right.
program.
And we can check it later. You've got a couple days left.
That's okay.
Alexander.
It's good for us to all be on the same page about this. So you need at least 15
Ah.
free votes with 80% in support of the project. So you have already been approved, Alexander. If
Great.
this closes as it is right now, this will be approved. So
Oh,
what I was
perfect.
gonna say is Alexander is going to be reorganizing our design catalog, our devices catalog, and making it a lot more visual and easier to kind of browse and see what's what, as well as adding in new kinds of information that'll appeal to engineering types, different types of mechanisms that are involved, maybe different types of design challenges we need to address, things like that. But I think there's a nice opportunity for a tie-in here, because while we're redesigning that catalog, why not have a grouping for, animal devices and
Right.
break those down by species and stuff. So Alexander, if you can think about that as you're doing that work, that would be nice to get this going.
Great.
yeah, all right, makes sense. It would just be another division that we would already have on the device lists.
Exactly. Okay.
So,
So yeah,
so I started populating designs.
Yep.
As you said, Jeremy, there's been a good return. I think there's about 4 people who said they'd like to help, including Lars. So what I'm going to be doing now over the weekend is organizing these folks. I'm not going to start a series of Zoom meetings. God knows we have enough of those. But I'm going to start organizing offline.
and Bob, you can directly invite people. So maybe invite Lars, invite people that are involved, and you can actually send them invites to the space, maybe to encourage them to jump in.
That's good. Thank you. Because I could use some help being a bit more nimble with this.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm going to start we're going to all now work to gather more designs and populate.
Yep.
We're also going to work to start posting, all of us, stories and reaching out. And then I'm going to start putting together an outreach to veterinarians and animal hospitals and shelters that will be
Excellent.
started
Well,
over
so
the next several
That's
weeks.
great, Bob.
I mean, it sounds like I agree. The first step needs to be kind of taking an inventory of existing designs that are out there that we can, use as a starting point. As a next step, maybe before reaching out to, veterinarians and everything, it seems kind of like we might need to get our own catalog in order. We might need to develop some new designs, or at least make sure that we're able to use the ones that are out there. It might be worth spending some time thinking about, like, obviously we can't cover every animal at once. We're going to need to prioritize. My guess is if we looked at, what's going to be most common, it's probably going to be dogs that we start with, maybe then
Dogs and
cats.
cats.
But then, from there, kind of what are the priorities, and we kind of figure out from there then how to prioritize. Because I could see kind of having a branching effort where then you go off and you're working on outreach while we have a parallel, engineering, design effort where people are kind of working on designs while you're off doing that.
I agree. Speaking of animals, somebody has joined us to discuss their opinion.
There you go.
Hey.
But, one thing I learned from Lars is that unlike humans, animal cases require probably a lot more customization and engineering detail because of the unusual stresses placed on them relative to their body weight.
That's right.
So, these are some things we're going to be learning. So I don't know.
But the other thing that I remember talking to Lars about is that you get much more honest feedback from animals. They don't lie. You can see immediately if they're experiencing discomfort or anything like that. They won't hide it. Yeah.
That's true. And they probably sit still better than the humans do.
But Bob, your point is well taken, that a design catalog may be less the critical asset for animals that it is for humans, because they come in so many shapes and sizes.
So it
And
might
that
be
was my
more,
point.
it might be more about building like a team, like an expert team of those that handle custom
Right.
animal.
Right.
designs.
So I think our design catalog has to have examples and maybe some kickoff points or starting points for people, but by no means.
Honestly, the work we're doing in our other design team, where we're working towards a parametric hand design, is actually relevant here, because if we can take a similar approach in developing new designs for animals parametrically, it'll make that kind of customization and adjustment process much easier for those that need to do that.
Absolutely. I just think it means we shouldn't spend too much time up front developing a beautiful catalog. That's
Right.
Agreed.
That's all.
Yeah.
But
Agreed. Well, nice to
Two
have
things.
Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
I was going to say there's two things. I was thinking of one. Bob makes a great point. Asynchronous collaboration probably makes the most sense. No need for an extra meeting. Use that space, get people in there, have people post, and after you get a whole bunch of posts in there, you can start pulling them together into sort of themes and reference them, bring them into the main forum, and bring people into that space if they want to get regular
that's where I'm
updates.
going to need a lot of help, Ben, because I'm not agile.
Okay, I can help with that, but you got a great start. Just keep posting whenever you want into that space, and people won't get notifications unless they want them. So I think that's a great pathway forward for that. I was going to also mention, as long as we're talking about device design, Alexander's Lumia proposal looks like it's going through. There's these animal designs. There's the projects that Jeremy and that team has been working on. I did want to give a little shout out and a reminder to the post that I made about the customization with the finger designs. e-NABLE Medellin, aka Humanos 3D, responded to one of those posts about a new finger design that they're going to be releasing next week. But Jeremy, if you can open up that customization space. If you look up customization, it'll pop up. Yeah, here we go. So this post could also be something that we might want to try to find some volunteers to lead. Hopefully one of the folks that I referenced in there would be interested. I did share it with Patrick Geary.
I'm looking for this comment you were talking about from e-NABLE Medellin, where I'm missing it.
If you go to the forum, somebody posted, and just the post was finger.
Oh, okay.
And there was two other posts that I should bring into that comment of people looking for finger designs. And there was a response. Let's see. Keep going down. Yeah, here we go.
Just index finger, this one?
Yep. We will be releasing new finger and thumb designs in the next week. Stay tuned. So I might reach out to them and see if they are going to be involved in this stuff, try to get sort of a team together, and like what Bob's talking about within the customization space, see if we can get some leaders that are going to be sort of taking charge.
Yeah, nice.
But I just wanted to say that, Bob's idea, that as a model is a good one. So I'm going to follow that too.
It just stems from the fact that I'm already feel bad that I just don't have the time in my life to attend every Zoom call for every function within e-NABLE. I only have so much time, and we got to come up with alternatives to more Zoom meetings for things. That's all.
True. All right, well, let's move on. So case related. I don't know if we need to review this again, but there was this post about kind of pulling together related cases, and this was actually the one that we were just looking at. So
yeah,
I think we've covered that. But then we did want to touch on this one briefly, Bob. This is the one about Bishnu. You want to talk about this a little?
What can I?
Here, I'll take this off. I'll
Yeah,
put you
just
on.
highlight me. Let me summarize. I think Bishnu's case is an example of where there's a gap in our offerings. And it's for anatomies where you basically have the whole palm. You're missing fingers, but you have the whole palm. There's been injury typically. So you have a much wider anatomy. It can be bulbous from scar tissue and things like that. I'm not a doctor, but there is a subset of recipient, typically an adult, where it's just very large. So what I did was from the scan, I printed up Bishnu's anatomy in full scale. And then I took the wide phoenix. He wanted a phoenix, but the phoenix is probably the easiest to fit anyway. I took the wide phoenix design and I printed it at 150%, which frankly is already too large, but it's the largest I've ever made a device. And you can see it fits at the tip, but as the typical case, the thumb anatomy just doesn't fit. And I would have to go to 170, 180%. And that's way too large. It would be like a catcher's mitt. Even to my hand, it's big. So the bottom line is we need to come up with a solution for Bishnu, but in general, we need a device for probably adult anatomy where the palm is largely intact, may have a lot of surgical scar from it, and the standard devices don't work. And Jeremy and I had discussed this briefly during the week. It may very well have to be some type of an exoskeleton that fits.
Not exoskeleton, but actually there's some examples in here, Bob. Like this is the kind of thing, like this is designed for somebody that needs a couple of fingers, but the idea here being, you know, rather than trying to fully enclose the palm in a 3D printed component, you've got a thin covering to which the 3D printed, you know, fingers would attach. That was the kind of approach I was thinking.
Okay.
You know, something like this here, but you know, there would be a thumb as well, but it would just be connected to something thinner, smaller that wouldn't add to the bulk of the hand. I don't think it's a design we have, but yeah, this kind of thing. But again,
Yeah.
including the thumb somehow. There's got to be some, but again, yeah, that's a design that we would have to come up with. And it seemed to me, Alexander, tell me if I'm wrong, this seemed to be the kind of thing you were talking about in the beginning of our design meetings, something that you had kind of been working on or thinking about. Am I misremembering?
I'm not sure if I got what was wrong with the device adaptation from the beginning with what Bob described.
It's just too
It's just too
wide.
big. In order to get his anatomy to fit in there, we'd have to print the Phoenix at like 180% scale, and it would
This is
then be-
150%,
be
and it's
twice
not
the
the
size of
standard
his other
Phoenix,
hand.
it's the wide Phoenix.
yeah.
And it's still not wide enough.
Oh,
No.
nowhere near.
And if it
And the
were
issue
wide
with that
enough,
is that
everything
it
else
gets
would be
the
way out
fingers
of
to.
scale.
Sorry?
And if it was wide enough, everything would be way too big.
Oh, yeah. You couldn't manipulate it. That's ridiculous.
Well, my question is, why exactly is that? I can think of one mechanical point to adjust for the finger length, but have you seen, Bob, have you seen my work with for the Brazil team,
I have not.
Proto Sonho?
Well, yes, I have. I was on the call with you. I've seen some of
I
your,
delivered that on Monday.
okay.
Is that a full
I don't
hand
remember if
design?
I've actually CC'd you in the email with the parts.
No, you didn't, but here's the issue. Can you see my screen?
I've
Yeah.
got a quick question real quick before you go on, Bob. In the notes, is there somewhere that I should be adding to about this case? I don't see.
It's under case related.
Okay, under case related. Got it. Okay, continue. Thanks.
Alex, do you see?
Yep.
You see the thumb doesn't fit. That's the problem in these designs. And this is.
Oh, so it needs just a space for the thumb without having.
But he
But
needs a
no,
thumb also.
But he doesn't have a usable thumb. He just needs
Yeah.
space for his stump. So we still
And-
need to have a thumb on the device, but it needs to have room for his thumb stump. That's the
And-
trick.
And by the way, this is not an ideal solution, 150%. That's getting
Yeah.
pretty big.
Yeah, and the fingers are
He's
going to
not
be
a-
giant.
He's not a large man.
No, and you can see the tips fit nicely, you know, if you didn't have a thumb. But
Yeah. That's probably not a good option though.
Can I
That
share my
sounds-
screen?
It does sound
Yeah.
similar to what Judy was mentioning.
Now, let's,
She-
Alexander, you're welcome to share your screen, but let me caution us not to get into an actual design workshop here. We just want to try to figure
Yep.
out kind of
Right.
how are we going to approach this case, and I think we're going to have to find a, we're going to have to put together a team, which is going to need to include somebody that can do actual CAD customization, but don't jump in
Here.
too quick. Don't jump in too quick, Alexander.
You know anybody,
You're taking on too
Alexander?
much.
Other than myself with the free time and will, not within the e-NABLE community.
No,
I
look,
know
you're
outside
gonna
of
have
the
less free
community.
time coming up with this project. I did
What-
want to mention, there's a fork in the road here in terms of customization. On one side, it's saying, let's use the residual fingers. On the other side, it's saying, let's put whatever residual anatomy there is inside of sort of an encasing and then have, the mechanical fingers. So for example, Judy is at that fork in the road. She has tried some devices where she can sort of use an extension for her thumb, and it's been sort of unsatisfying. And now she's considering, well, maybe putting her whole anatomy inside of a larger device. I do think that we should get some OT exercises or procedures on how individual volunteers would, once they get to that fork in the road, make that decision.
well, just so you know, I went back to the OTs, I went back to Bishnu, I showed them this, I sent them a photograph, explained the problem, and I said, we're going to be meeting today. It probably will require some type of custom design, which is going to dramatically increase time frames. But after the meeting today, I will get back to you with an update. So that's where it stands.
So we owe them some kind of an answer of what
Yeah,
to
on
expect.
something.
Now, and I fully expected, Alexander, that you'd be willing to jump in, but I do urge caution. I mean, you've got a lot going on, and I really
Can I at least give the ideas?
you can absolutely give ideas, but
All right.
Yes, please.
while I appreciate the ideas, unfortunately, we can't do anything with them. We're still going to need somebody with some fraction of your CAD skills.
Yeah, I have, look, you know me well enough. I can't contribute.
Well,
to
let's
a
get a,
CAD
let's get a look at,
I'll look at what?
let's get a look at what Alexander wants to show us, and that may define.
Sounds good. Let's just try to keep it brief, Alexander. We do have other things to cover.
John, you're breaking up.
Alexander, you can go ahead and share your screen.
All right. So two things. My work with the Brazil team from Monday, and this was actually on the stream.
Oh, that's based
So
on
you actually have this exactly step by step how I did this. I modified the entire thing, pulled some fingers back over here, and made the section view. As you can see, it's quite squared off compared to the normal Phoenix hand.
But now this looks like it's for somebody that has a functional thumb, which I don't
Yeah.
think is what we're dealing with here. I don't
Yeah.
think he can really use that.
However, the main issue wasn't the thumb, it was that the fingers would end up very, very long, as in 6 or 7 centimeters longer than on his other hand.
I see. So you short.
So I dragged everything back. As you can see, the walls right here are fairly thin compared to
Yeah,
the
oh,
normal
yeah.
design.
Yeah.
So I pulled all 3 of these all the way back by about 1.5 centimeters.
Okay.
This is what you and I discussed on that call, and you did it successfully. That's wonderful.
Yeah, in an hour.
Now, but
Yeah,
how much
that's
of there was a 5 centimeter difference. How much did you reclaim?
I think all of it.
All
So
5
1 centimeter from the top, 0.5 centimeter from over here, and 1.5 centimeters from over here.
Fantastic.
It's still not at the same size with the natural hand, but it's a
No,
2
but-
centimeter difference.
But it
My,
never will be.
My
And
second
I'll tell you,
suggestion.
there is one, that's one option that we have here is a design like that. If you go back to the other one momentarily, Alexander, one possibility is to have kind of an opening, even if he can't really make use of his thumb stump. It would just be a gap that it could at least, not to try to enclose it. In other words, that is an option. I mean, we might not have a functional thumb on the device.
I mean,
don't know
to
how that
cover
would affect-
the thumb, it's really easy to just create a hole and extrude it. sorry, create a wall, another wall
Right.
over here that
But
covers the
But
thumb.
ideally, you'd want the joint and everything to have a functional mechanical thumb.
That's true, because yeah, it's gonna be hard to grip anything
Yeah,
without
you
But
superimposing.
thumbs are funny, and so it it's possible that if you had a bulge where you now have an opening that would enclose this guy's thumb stump,
Right.
and you could put a modified thumb, something that would provide opposition to the fingers, even if it didn't match the anatomy of a human thumb, of a regular thumb.
Yep, and that's really easy to actually model.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a good
Well,
idea.
what?
I mean, it would
why don't
look. You could probably make it look fairly similar to the current thumb on the Phoenix. You're basically just kind of hollowing out the proximal phalanx of the thumb and
Right.
and making it so that the thumb stump can fit inside there.
Exactly.
Right. It's never been clear that you need both joints on the thumb anyway, so it's
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely worth trying.
and Jeremy, for all of your caution about Alexander, he did say that he made this modification, which is quite radical, in 1 hour.
I have it on
So-
stream live.
Look, I'm torn because I have no doubt that Alexander would be a great fit for this project. I would hate to see
Well,
Alexander get burned out. I've seen
What
so
if,
many
what
people.
if what if I personally challenge, since I'm the case coordinator on this now, what if, Alexander, I give you a personal challenge to spend no more than 3 hours? Okay?
Can do it
3
on a
hours.
stream on my weekly streams, and
There
that's
you go,
perfect.
yeah.
3 hours. You got
Get double
3
use out of
hours to take the STL of,
Send me a copy of the case and the links, and I'll make it my first my first thing on Tuesday. As
Yeah,
a
I mean,
stream.
the good news is, Alexander, we can give you the STL of the 3D scan that he's holding up, so you'll have an
Oh,
actual
that's even
3D
better.
model to work around. Yeah.
okay, we have it, because I downloaded it to print it. So Jeremy, can you make sure
Yeah, I'll send it to
Alexander
him.
has that?
Yeah.
And Alexander, you got 3 hours to design something around this, because like Jeremy, I'm
Speed modeling.
concerned that you're gonna get flamed out here if you do too much. But
Yep, that's fair.
if you're willing to
Right.
do 3 hours, that shouldn't kill you, and maybe we'll get something. It's not, look, anything that's going to cover this is going to be big. I understand that, but it can't be as big as 180% of a standard model.
Yep.
I'd
I
recommend-
managed to do this with, I think, 100. I don't remember this, but it's still smaller than what we had on stream originally,
Okay.
than what we discussed.
3 hours, and you got to be true to that.
Alexander, if you want to screen capture it and put a time lapse, I know you've done this whole week of sprinting with design. That might be a nice little capstone.
It was only
to the-
3 days. Sorry. Yesterday, I had something else to do.
Okay, fair. But anyways, if you wanted to do something like that, that could be inspiring.
Yeah, it
for
can be a
people.
live stream.
Well, what I need is an STL of a new palm that the standard finger, of course, I'm going to have to
Well,
put
no,
fingers on it
it
eventually.
might not be standard fingers, Bob. He may do something like what he did
Right.
here. He might send
Well-
you new fingers and a new palm.
Okay, at the end of the day, I'm a simple guy. I need
Something to print.
STLs to print.
Yep.
That's all.
All right.
I don't care about any other formats. I just need STLs.
I wanted to mention my second suggestion for such cases where the fingers are just simply end up too long despite the hands not being quite that big, is having virtual axes. So basically the gray part of this would be the natural hand, and the natural hand, the knuckle would have its rotational axis right over here. Now, because we are using plastic, we usually put our first rotational axis all the way up here. And that's why we end up with fingers that are quite that long. Does it make any sense?
Yep.
Basically, I started work on this system, and if you like it, I can keep working on this, where you have a virtual axis and you slim around 3-4 centimeters of the entire hand, just from the length, nothing
I
else.
like it, as we pointed out in yesterday's meeting. I'm not certain it's gonna smoothly pivot. It's gonna grab.
It's worth
and-
testing.
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah, we definitely want to do a test of that, and we'll see how it moves. The what we didn't see in his screen share there is that the wire that pulls the finger, and I didn't know this at first, comes around that bottom curve so that it's
Yeah.
actually it's pulling it along that rotational line of movement.
Yes, but
So it
still.
could work. We'll have to print it and try it and see.
Good.
It's just a
Now,
question of.
what's going to, that was on a push-pull mechanism, right?
No. That one
No,
is just
this is a
using
wire.
cables and sticks.
So what's going to return the finger? A spring at
The
top or
same
a
the same things that you have on the normal Phoenix.
So
Literally anything that's
rubber?
elastic.
the rubber bands, they're gonna have to come around the top.
Yep.
Yeah, that's part of what we'd have to test. And
Okay, well, let's try it. Let's test it.
yeah, it's an elegant design. My question really has to. It always comes down to the what looks beautiful on screen. You know, when you actually 3D print it, you're introducing that layering and the variances and dimensional tolerance, and that's where things get tricky. And I think in this case, especially when you have that dovetail joint having to slide across itself, I'm just wondering if that layering from the 3D print is going to introduce too much friction in that movement. But we should try it and see.
Well, I'm gonna tell Vishnu and the crew that we have a very talented 3D designer who's gonna do a Hail Mary.
Thanks.
All right, well, let's move on. Thank you, Alexander and Bob, for handling that. We'll get an update next time. I think that's whatever we come up with will be useful in quite a few other cases, I think, because this is a pretty common issue that we run into. All right, so we got a category here for technical stuff. I don't think I have anything new here. We've talked about some 3D scanning solutions. We've talked about various CAD tools. Is today? Yeah, today is our on-shape presentation, 1 hour after the end of this meeting. So I'll definitely be there, as will some of the others here. I hope others will join us too. That should be great.
From 1 to 2. Is
Eastern.
Ward with us still?
It looks like no, he had to drop. So Ward, and he might be off prepping with Andrew. So I guess Andrew and Ward are doing that.
Great.
So,
I did email our educational chapters, and I'll have to follow up with Bob about. It seems like we've got 2 separate lists about educational chapters. It'll be great to compare notes. So
Mine is a WAG, and in some cases, so your data might be a lot better.
I think you had more numbers though, so I can compare
Oh.
with yours. That'd be great.
Then it really worthwhile. Okay.
Yeah, so maybe we can meet early next week. I know, is it Tuesday is the Goldman Sachs meeting? So maybe you and I can meet on Monday. Just shoot me an
Okay.
email and let me know when you're available, and we can
Well,
go
I sent you the
over it
link to the
together.
spreadsheet. You
You
got
did.
that, right? Okay.
Yep.
And you can
Right.
see my guesses.
Okay.
I'm just
perfect.
curious. Any other iPhone users here that have tried out Trinio? Anyone else play with that?
No, I said I have, and it's great.
Not recently.
Okay. It really, I was just really blown away by the results.
Mine's
To
an
me,
iPhone 8.
It's comparable. The output is comparable with a little bit of cleanup to what you'd get out of a $500, $600, $700 scanner. That just kind of blows me away. All right. Research and development. We got this is more of a placeholder at this point. I don't know if there's anything specific to talk about today. I know this is an area of interest for Alexander, and the proposal that he has right now that's about to pass is really a step towards this, I would say. We're kind of setting the groundwork for I think, a more ambitious proposal that will be oriented towards probably more kind of pure research and R&D and developing the framework for that. So I'll just ask maybe Alexander first. Is there anything along these lines of R&D that you wanted to discuss today? Anything on your mind?
I'm not sure, not really particularly,
Okay.
unless
Anyone else?
anybody has any
Yeah,
questions.
Ben?
I was just gonna put a quick suggestion in. We have a certain amount of devices that are within our e-NABLE hub system, but there's all sorts of devices that aren't in there, and some of them are with current chapters. Like we've got Paraguay has a lot of devices that aren't in that list. It sounds like Humanos 3D has this new device coming out, so it might be worth, as you're looking at the current devices, having a list of some of these groups that are making the devices and following up with them to find out, in the branches of design.
That's
What
actually
else?
a really good idea, but I think a more organized effort might be called for here. I mean, we have a mailing list for all the chapters, and if we put together a nicely, formatted email that had some attention grabbing kind of, graphic or something, and we put a message out to them that, look, we're really trying to get a centralized collection of all of these great designs that you and everyone else have created. Please help us to, gather these together. We might be able to collect some of them that way. We could, of course, do individual follow-ups, but
I was going to say, I think it could be more targeted than that. There's some specific groups that have been really active with design. So it probably could
I
be.
agree. I just think there's a lot out there that we don't know about. So I would suggest that we start with an email to all chapters, just asking them to help us to share what they have, and then we start doing individual outreach to the ones we know have things that we want.
Yeah.
I want to
So,
mention that both ideas and approaches were part of my initial idea of the R&D step 1. So emailing and getting in contact with a bunch of chapters, a bunch of universities and students that have done a lot of projects on this, and getting their devices back on at the very least listed on the hub as a simple link. And I already have quite a few, and I had a couple of meetings on this very topic.
That's wonderful. So we should keep working towards that goal, but if we don't make significant progress by the time you're through this first.
I've just noticed that Ward has no.
What was that, John? John, your connection today is awful.
Yeah.
Frozen here.
All right, I'm going to move on.
John, use the chat.
All right, so
Jeremy, notice that Ward.
John, use the
Okay.
chat.
okay. Oh, Ward says I
I
got
will.
kicked off Zoom. How do you get kicked off Zoom? I don't have any kind of restrictions in place. If you're watching, Ward, you should be able to jump right back in. I certainly haven't kicked anyone. It's very bizarre. Okay, moving on then. e-NABLE interns, I chatted about this, I think, before we started the recording with Ben, so he's got some meetings with them. He's going to make sure they're aware of us wanting them to join in next week so that we can have them introduce themselves, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to have them join these town halls regularly once they start.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll have them next week.
And we can easily set up like a monthly sort of quick show and tell. And we can do sort of like week by week, but they'll be with us for 3 months. So we might be able to have some little checkpoints with them.
Absolutely. So I'm looking over the rest of the topics here, and I don't think there's anything that's really timely that we have to discuss right now. So I'd rather use any remaining time that we have to just ask you guys here if you have anything that you'd like to share as updates or anything you'd like to discuss.
No, I think pretty well covered from my end. I appreciate Alexander's 3-hour effort.
Yeah, that'll look forward to seeing it.
Appreciate it after I've done it, not before.
I love it.
Full faith.
I like the approach because I think we're going to get a good solution out of it, but we're also going to have a great video that'll be very educational. So we get two benefits. Hold on, something in the chat here. Anything that I haven't been keeping up on the chat. I'm sorry, folks.
Bob, so it looks like John's asking if we can move our meeting to early Tuesday instead of today.
Let's see.
Early Tuesday. The answer is yes.
So
I can
before, you mean before the Goldman Sachs meeting on Tuesday, John?
Right.
Yeah, that's fine with me. Like the
Fine
hour
with me
before
too,
that.
but it does put the crunch on us to have something to tell them.
We'd have to be.
So we
productive.
actually have to come to some agreement
I
on.
think we will. Well, if we schedule an hour, we'll get it done.
We will, but let's remember, this is the area where we may have the least amount of actual data, so we're going to have to logically calculate.
All right, I'm moving it. It's a little pressure, but we'll get it done.
What time?
It's going to be 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. your time on Tuesday.
And what time is our meeting with them?
Well,
12 p.m. Eastern.
I think we should maybe aim for 9 a.m. and then have a little bit of a buffer just in case. If we're scrambling the last 10 minutes to throw something together.
yeah, I agree. I'm
All
concerned.
right. We'll go.
It gets a little bit painful for Jeremy, though, I know.
No,
Or
no,
we
no.
can aim for Monday, too.
I can handle that. I just need to, as long as I can get a few emails done and stuff before my first meeting, I'm good. Okay.
So what time?
I just sent an updated invite, so you should have it in your inbox, but it's 9 a.m. my time, which will be 10 a.m. your time on Tuesday. Instead
Um,
of this afternoon.
So we're
Great.
off for this afternoon.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Got
Off
it.
this afternoon.
Got
I
it.
did, Bobby first.
Okay, but on for 10 a.m.
Yep.
Okay. And if you want to talk anytime Monday, Ben, about the educational thing, just let me know.
Great. And I thought I'd let you guys know that I did set up a reoccurring meeting for sort of an educational group. I know that, we've got a lot of Zoom meetings, but this one seems like it really is 1/3 of our community are these international university and high school chapters. I did accidentally schedule it for Labor Day, so I'm going to have to probably push it to Tuesday, the first Tuesday in September, but then it'll just flip back to Mondays. We sort of have this Monday and Friday regular meeting schedule. So, but just a quick heads up that's something that I'm going to be pursuing. It does dovetail into the internships. We have these event. Allison is going to be working on sort of coordinating an event, and there's a good chance that it's going to involve the educational teams.
Alexander brought something up earlier in chat that I had missed. That was a good point. Our next chapter will be our 200th chapter. It seems like something we should celebrate.
I have mixed feelings. The reason being is we don't even know if all 200 are active. We haven't done an audit, and
We know for sure that they're not active, actually.
some are falling off, some are falling on. We've had
Yeah,
as high as
changes all the
250, then we do a triage. So
Fair enough. I hear you.
it's
I think we should be quiet with the number,
I hear
and
you.
hopefully it'll stay around 200. But I know that the Quebec chapter with Peter Byron is not active. I had some emails back and forth with him because of some activity. Thierry was looking into that, trying to collaborate, and Peter Byron got back to me saying that it's just not active right now. I think there's a bunch of chapters that need to be updated. So
let's to that extent that we can do that, let's make that part of it, Ben. Our
Great.
discussion on Monday.
yeah, let's talk about that on Monday. That'd be great. I was also going to mention, as long as we're just kind of circling end of meeting topics, I got an email from Thierry. His website is updated. He shared that in the hub. We can see the public facing site, but really what we're mostly interested in is the back end team management. That's something that we'll want to schedule a meeting with him and Zainab probably next week. Get those meetings going again. And
Who's coordinating that?
I can set it up. It's the same. I can use the same link that we used before.
Okay. Sounds good. Anybody else have anything?
Let's
All right.
wrap.
Let's wrap it up. Thanks, everyone. See you next